comes.
I knew it.
We'll just wait 2 seconds.
Right on time.
I called it.
We'll call the regular meeting in the New Ulm Economic Authority, Development Authority for Tuesday, September 13, 2016, 8 a.m. to order. First item on agenda is roll call. We do have a quorum, so we'll go to item number 2, approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll move them.
Second.
We got a motion, a second, to approve the minutes. Any discussion on any? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 3, from the New Ulm Economic Development Corporation Coordinator regarding activities during the month of August 2016.
Brian Toll, New Ulm Economic Development Corporation. You all should have my report. I'm not going to read through it, but I will highlight a couple of items. You'll see that Minnesota Valley Testing Labs is in the middle of a significant expansion. They're still waiting for the delivery of their building, but they've begun the site work, and they basically have the ground prepped and ready to go. We've been working for a number of months with an individual by the name of Dan Stratman, who would like to put a meat market back in New Ulm, which I think is a huge thing. And he's focused on the downtown, and he's looked at a number of buildings. But he's very enthusiastic, and I think he's well financed. So he's working with Lenny's old butcher, Scott Keister, if you know him. So he'll have Lenny's old recipes for all of the old sausages and whatnot, which is I think has real value. And then third, Kraft Heinz continues with their expansions. If you're on the south end of town, you'll see the cranes there. They've been there for months. A huge expansion for Kraft. In talking with the plant manager, Matt Hippie, the reason New Ulm was selected for an expansion was twofold. One was they wanted one facility that made all the Velveeta. So our Kraft plant will be the only plant in North America that makes Velveeta products. And the second was the workforce, which is a real testament to New Ulm. Any questions?
What kind of a time frame are they as far
I
as?
think they're looking at startup of the new lines in October.
Okay.
So pretty soon. I mean, it's a crash course. They've got over 100 construction people there on site every day. If you drive past the plant, you'll see that land that the city, I think they transferred it to Kraft, but all the cars that are parked in that area and then along the street, it's just they've got a big crew working on that.
Going to town.
Good. Anybody have any questions, concerns?
I guess the only other thing I would have is, in the comment from Mr. Vorwerk about finding qualified workers. I mean, is that a problem?
Yes.
You have all the expansion going on, which is fantastic, but do we have the workforce?
We've got a workforce issue. Yep. A number of the employers in town have said, I'm taking chances on people I wouldn't normally take. And that's just because there's a shortage of people. And what that's done is it's affected the wage rates. With the Kraft expansion, they're anticipating paying the new hires over $22 an hour, plus $8 in benefits.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's huge. And you look at 3M and some of the others, and they're in that $17, $18, $19 range, $18, $19 range, where 2 or 3 years ago it was $14, $15. So the ones, and the reason Kraft is going to be paying $22 is they have said, we don't want any problem getting people, so they're going to steal them. Steal them, I don't know, that might not be the right term, but they'll attract people at that wage rate.
Sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And people will want to stay. They're going to make a career out of it.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
I'll offer a motion to accept the report.
I'll second it.
We got a motion, second, to accept the Economic Development Corporation report. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 4, from the EDA staff administrative activities during the month of August 2016. Heather?
All right, good morning. We'll start with the
Section 8 report on the first 5 pages. Note we had 103 vouchers on the program for the month of August. HAP payments from HUD, payments to landlords exceeded disbursements from HUD by about $2,700 for the month. We did request and receive additional funding from our HUD-held reserves to cover those payments. Administrative fee disbursements exceeded expenses by $1,400. Note the unaudited balances for those funds on pages 3 and 4. And on page 5, note we have 103 vouchers on the program as of September 1st with a waiting list of 76. We do plan to utilize reserve funding for the remainder of the year. We're on track to end the year with 100% utilization of our funding, which is a key metric that HUD will use in determining our funding for the upcoming year. So we're in good shape. Any questions on Section 8? Moving on then to public housing. Note revenues exceeded expenditures by about $7,300 for the month. Broadway House is fully leased with 49 on the waiting list. We have 1 vacancy in the scattered site family unit rentals with 46 on the waiting list. Moving on to the EDA fund, we've got cash of $367,500 in that account. We have a closing for the spec house at 612 Fender Drive scheduled for next week. The spec house we're building at 633 Fender Drive is substantially completed. The EDA did have an offer on that house and submitted a counter offer, and we have had no response from the buyer on that. So the house is currently listed for sale. Staff is in the process of soliciting bids for 2 new spec houses, and we plan to bring those to the board next month for consideration. And the street improvement project continues. I believe the concrete work may now be completed, and crews are preparing to start paving the street. We've had a lot of rain delays up there, so we're calling it lakeside property. Any questions there? Moving on then to the rehab loan program on page 11 of your report, available funds of just over $336,000 there. We did have 1 early payoff on a loan, and there was a new loan application received and approved for our first $50,000 loan with the new policy changes we made recently. Any questions on that?
Back to the EDA, did we, 2 requests that we dealt with last month, are those completed? Do we know what happened there?
Which?
The driveways with, they put a request in, do you know if
The
they've done?
2 that requested the larger driveways, that was approved and it has been done.
And know if we had any other requests, this kind of was my
I
follow-up.
think all the other homeowners were approached and they all declined,
Okay.
as far as I'm
Just
aware.
curious. Thank you.
We did a personal or telephone call to all the other property owners.
Okay.
Of course, they would have the option to expand later if they wanted to. They just didn't want to do it at this time. So, moving on then to the Garden Terrace report on page 13. Garden Terrace has 2 vacancies with 69 on the waiting list. They had 2 turnovers last month, and they have 2 move-out notices pending for October.
Have we looked into that fire alarm system yet?
I contacted Lloyd Management, and they didn't feel anything more needed to be done at this time. We are looking at budgeting for potential replacement of that. We had some, what he's referring to, we had some fire calls, false alarms that were going off, and just those alarms needed to be replaced. They were faulty. But the fire alarm system over there is aging, and so we are looking at potential replacement next year, and we are building that into the budget.
Okay. Any more? No? Anybody have any questions? If not, entertain a motion to accept the report.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the report. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5A, consider resolution approving the 2017 Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program annual budget. Ender?
Budgeting for the Section 8 program has been a challenge for several years, mainly because we're required by HUD to pass a budget, but we usually are going into this a little bit blind because Congress has not been passing their budgets in a timely manner. So we are making our best guess at what our funding might be for the upcoming year and basing our budget on that. The primary issue with this budget continues to be adequate funding. We have been utilizing significantly less vouchers than we have available due to lack of funding. I looked at our average vouchers for this year to date. We've been averaging about 100 vouchers. We have 124 available to us, but we've only been able to fund a portion of that. We're right around 80%, and I think our funding is prorated at about 84%, so we're pretty close there as far as utilizing what we're receiving. So the proposed budget includes projected funding for the upcoming calendar year. This includes both our housing assistance payments, which are that's the funding we use to pay the landlords, and then the administrative fee revenues, which is used to pay staffing time and office expenses. You can see the
So we can pass
overview
this
of the
budget and just have to modify it once we know the actual numbers.
If there would need to be a major revision, we could bring that
Right.
at a later date once Congress passes a budget. I'm hearing they may do a continuing resolution for now until after the election, so I mean, we've received this as late as May of the following year,
Wow.
so
Okay.
who knows?
Well, I'll offer the resolution and waive the reading to approve the 2017 Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Heather, please call the roll.
All right, Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Gugesberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallers?
Yes.
And President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 6A, consider a motion authorizing payment of the public housing program claims. The amount is $20,799.94.
Anything we
moved.
should be aware of?
I'll just note we did replace the furnace and central air unit in the Broadway House community room that had been brought up at a prior meeting, and the invoices for that have come through now.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second authorizing payment. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7A, consider resolution approving the 2017 rental properties fund budget.
All right, the rental budget covers the market rate rental house we have at 320 North Broadway. It's a single-family, two-bedroom house right next door to Broadway House. Also covers the vacant parking lot on the corner of 4th North and Broadway, or 326 North Broadway. And also a small parcel of land located between the Kiesling House and the Lamplighter that's owned by the EDA. Currently, the rent charged at the rental house at 320 North Broadway is $510 per month. In addition, the tenants pay all their utilities and their garbage service. The major expenses for the EDA on that property are the annual property taxes and depreciation. We budget for occasional staff time for maintenance items, as well as property insurance, snow removal, that sort of thing. We are proposing a rent increase of $15 a month, effective January 1st, 2017. Just trying to keep in line with other rentals on the market. And then the empty lot at 326 North Broadway occasionally is rented to parties interested in utilizing that area. We've also allowed community organizations to use the property at no charge for short-term fundraising purposes. And in addition, the Broadway House Apartments pays the EDA an annual fee of $600 a year to use the lot for the purpose of snow removal at the Broadway House parking lot. The EDA has an easement agreement with Lamplighter that's been in place since 1994. The Lamplighter pays the EDA $1,000 a year for the encroachment onto our property. So those are the things in this, but this is a very small budget, as you can see. Any questions?
Well, $525 a month for a house is not bad at all. That's actually, to me, seems
That's
almost
cheap.
low. but
Yeah, we're trying to get it in line gradually with other.
I'll move the increase.
I'll second it.
We got a motion and a second to approve the increase. Any more discussion?
How long have we had people in there? Same people been in there a while?
The current tenants have been in there about 1.5 years. They've been very good renters for us, so we're hoping to keep them for a while.
So maybe if they would move out, we should maybe bring this back and reconsider an increase at that
We
point.
could. Mhm.
Be my suggestion.
A couple months ago, we talked about listing. We had that unsolicited offer for these two properties, and we talked about, I thought we were going to look at how much Broadway House needs and let our realtors know that we had this for sale, because there's really no reason for us to own it. Has anything been done along those lines?
No.
No, the preference would be to, as Mr. Schultz points out, is to address that when the current tenants vacate.
But I don't think we can wait for that point, because what if there's someone out there that needs it and would be interested in now? Then there's no, so in the 1 month window when we're looking for a new tenant, that's when we're gonna go and tell the realtors, hey, we'd be interested in selling this?
No, I think the decision would be, do we want to sell it at that point and put it on the market and maybe keep it open? See what happens when government owns rental property? We have to pay the relocation of an existing person that resides within that building, and that goes out about 18 months. If we were to put it on the market and actually sell it, we're probably on the hook for $24,000 in financial assistance. It far exceeds the rent we receive. So when the property comes up
Okay.
and available, that's when we want to consider our options.
Okay.
To do that
Yep.
earlier, just not financially feasible.
No, sure.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I think we need to make a decision if we really want to get rid of it. We don't have to get rid of it, but at least have the idea, it's going to be for sale when that happens. You wait to that month, and then we'll be renting it out. We're right back in the same bind anyway. If we know we want to sell it,
Then I wouldn't rent it back out.
We just won't rent it back out. If
But
then
these
we're throwing
tenants
the money away.
vacate, we would bring it to the board.
no, I disagree. If we're going to not rent it out, then we're throwing money away because we could be getting rent. Now we're going to sit there and leave it empty until somebody wants to buy it? No. I think if it's $20,000, put it on the market. If somebody wants to pay the extra 20, they pay it. It's gone.
Or do we want
And
to
then
list
we're
all
on the
3
hook for
lots?
the
Well, I
relocation.
bet, all 3 lots.
We're required by federal law to notify the current tenants, and there's a whole process set up for the moving them and paying.
Yeah, but not,
If
we
it's
don't have to
sold.
move unless it's sold. So you can notify them that we're going to put it on the
Is it a
market.
year-by-year lease, or, I mean, is
It's
there?
month to month at this point.
Why would we want to do that, though?
Huh?
I mean, if we've got good renters in there now,
We're not chasing them out. I'm just saying, if somebody would come and want to develop that property, why wouldn't we want to sell it?
Yeah.
But if I was
Why
put
do
on
we
notice
want to
that
own
my-
market rate apartments? The city should not be in the business of owning market rate apartments. We are competing with people that pay taxes for renters, and when we charge $510 or $515 a month, they're getting cheaper rent from the city than they could get from a landlord who's trying to make money on it. So that's why I don't want the city in the market of owning market rate houses. There's enough other people that do that. So I think that's my idea, is if we enlist it and get it out there that way, if someone comes along with a business, say, hey, I'm looking for a corner lot on Broadway. There's not many of them left in the middle of town. So now, here, this is it. And the unsolicited offer we had was, there was people on this board that wanted to accept it at that time, so that must have been enough to cover the $20,000 in added fees. So we listed for $300,000, $280,000, whatever the number is. I think there's $20,000 to pay that added expense, and if it's a little more work, that's fine. But otherwise, we're going to keep owning it for the next 40 years, and I don't think that's what the city should be doing with it.
Well, I think originally when they acquired the property, it was, property adjacent to Broadway House, and not knowing what the future brings, there could have been an extension on Broadway House for another 30 units.
But no,
That didn't happen.
3 months ago when we got the unsolicited offer, it was said, no, we're not going to do that because there's no HUD money
Right.
coming anytime in the near future. So then, again, we're going to sit on it for 40 years because 20 years ago we thought we might need it. We don't need it. Let's see if there's someone else who can do a better job with it than we can.
Might play into a part of our discussion we want to have this late fall or early part of next year about where we want EDA to go. So maybe this will come back up and as part of if we decide we want to focus on apartments, maybe we will put an addition on the Broadway House. Maybe not with the HUD money, but maybe with other financial funding, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, one of the items, for Garden Terrace, is that, the debt is paid off and it's going to be generating some cash. As, Les points out, I don't know what the board's gonna decide if they're sitting on, $2.5 million and saying, there's a demand for more Broadway House apartments. Where are you gonna put it? I mean, the idea back when the land was purchased was to accumulate it for potential.
Right.
Now, we're not getting any money from the federal government. We know that. But that doesn't mean we can't do it on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You've got a cash flow that'll be coming up in the next year, when it really kind of hits, that you can use that money as the EDA sees fit on housing or economic development or anything, you want to apply it towards. So, I don't know what the future brings. You guys decide how you want to spend your money and what projects you want to do.
That's
But
part of that workforce solution that we heard from this morning. It's like, do we need to start developing more housing to bring more people in? There's the whole.
But I don't think the
discussion.
kind of housing we want is another Broadway house to bring more employees in. Then we need to start looking at some kind of rental townhouse type units, something like that. And again, 3 months ago when we got the unsolicited offer, we discussed whether we wanted to keep it for the purpose of building and at that point we said, no, we don't. We're not going to build another Broadway house. And we asked for the city staff to do some work to figure out what it would take to list it and everything else. And now when I ask the question today, nothing's been done. And that frustrates me as someone who volunteers their time on this board, and we asked for some help and this is what we want to consider doing, and then get told, no, nothing's been done. So if you want us to continue volunteering and serving on city boards, I would appreciate if we asked for some information to get some information back. Not be told, well, now we want to do Broadway House. 3 months ago, we didn't want to do another Broadway House. Now you're saying maybe in the future we do.
Well, I brought that up. That maybe that is something we'd consider. I
No,
don't know.
and that is, but 3 months ago, we weren't considering it. Nope,
Right.
there's going to be no federal money. We're not going to put another Broadway house up. And now when I bring up the question again about selling that house and doing it, and I was, well, we might want to do it, and maybe we will. And I'll be gone in December, and you can do whatever you want. It just frustrates me when I'm coming into these meetings, serving these boards, and I ask a question, and it seems like we're just being here because someone has to be here. You're not taking what we want to do seriously, and that frustrates me.
No, what was decided that you're talking about is we sent it back to the staff to come back with a recommendation because
Yeah.
we were looking
Yep.
at selling it. We thought maybe we want to keep portion of it.
Yep, and that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
That's why I just asked the question. What did the staff decide? How much, is there something we need for Broadway House? Can we list 2 lots? Can we list all 3? Do we want to do something? And they told, no, we don't want to do it. Well, this board, I believe, is the one that's got to make that decision, right? Not city staff? correct?
Well, sure, but
Okay.
at the last time we
I'm
discussed
just making
this,
sure.
we had talked about, keeping at least 10 feet
Yeah.
past the curb. That was staff's position last time.
Yep.
Keeping 10 feet. The bank didn't want that. They wanted the whole thing. And so, the question is, at this point, do you want to list it or not? I mean, we can solicit realtors. I mean, we've got a realtor for the Milford Heights, we've got an agreement with that. If you want us to go out and, get proposals from, all the realtors in town for this one particular site, we can do that.
Again, the last time it came up, the city staff was gonna do some more work and come back with what they felt was a recommendation, and I have a sneaking suspicion, had I not asked the question, it wouldn't have been brought up again unless someone else came with an unsolicited offer. That's a frustration for me, but.
One thing to note on the bank that was interested in acquiring the property, they were willing to pay the relocation costs for relocating our tenants. That was one thing. Another thing is that we are looking at the future direction of the EDA, and those items got tabled last month until the city had their strategic planning session, and the chamber is doing a visioning session survey, community survey, and so these items were, it was my understanding, everything was kind of tabled until we had more information and could get a clear direction of where we wanted to go. I mean, instead of willy-nilly throwing things in the air and seeing what sticks, I think we need to have a comprehensive plan. And the process is, underway, but I don't think we're ready to pull the trigger on making those decisions at this time.
We're also updating
That's the impression I had.
the housing study that was done, was it?
We're
eight
budgeting
years ago or
to do
7
a
years ago?
housing study in 2017 as well. So I think it would be nice to get our ducks in a row, get all the information and make good long-term decisions. And that's, the impression I got at the last meeting was that we wanted to table some of these items until we had more information to discuss next year.
That was kind of my understanding as well, because if we're gonna make great big picture things and say we decide as a group, we're selling Garden Terrace, we're gonna take that profit, we've decided as a group that we need workforce housing. We know that the 30 and under aren't buying homes like they used to, they wanna rent. So do we look at more of those type of house settings? Where's our property? If they're obviously not moving into Fander Drive, because we would have developed that a long time ago. So I think we need to really look at where we want EDA to go, and I'm challenging us as well, but I'm not ready to push that till I hear more from the visioning and get more information back. That went out in the paper actually today. You'll see that, or electronically, it's starting to float around already as well. But so I think we have to collect more data before we decide.
So the
I couldn't
EDA
vote
has
today
this
selling
land
that
on
property or
Broadway.
not.
The EDA has additional land down by Garden Terrace for a potential project.
Right.
As far as the EDA not being in the market rate rental business, should we sell Garden Terrace then?
I would have been in favor of it if I was on the EDA board when the unsolicited offer
I
came
mean,
for
that's
that
been
too.
brought up, and the board's decided they don't want to sell. So,
And that's when we were still
you know,
money.
staff can bring things up, but it is up to the board, and we're trying to follow the direction we're being given to the best we
And
can.
I think the last time we talked about the 320 property, we talked about not even listing it, just letting the realtors know, hey, if you have someone come in looking for a commercial, we would be interested in selling it. I'm not talking about putting a for sale sign out in front of the house in the lot. Just letting the realtors know, hey, if you have a viable commercial business that wants to put a new building up on a corner lot right there, we'd be interested in selling.
I think, yeah, I agree. What actually putting it on the market was never the idea. The idea was to come back, and I went back to it again, city staff coming to us saying, okay, if we're going to sell it, this is what we want to do. Just to have a plan in place. You can put a plan in place and not do anything. And that's what we're not doing.
Okay. Well, what I propose is not taking any action today because we don't have it on the agenda, but we will bring something back in October and let the board decide what they want us to do and give us clear direction on.
And what I got
Direction you
out
want
of
us
the
to
last
go.
meeting that I wasn't here is reading through the minutes of the last meeting, that the discussion wasn't on whether we sell property or anything like that. The discussion was on what the role of EDA is going to be in the future.
Right.
Going
That
forward.
is what it was about, nothing to do with property.
Right, but part of that, wouldn't that be if we sell the property using that funding
That would be a
for
different subject.
other
The main thing is
activities?
if we want to take on all the economic development instead of just housing.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I think we're headed for. At that point, once we decide that, then we decide if we want to unload this property to get some money to go out and buy some more development property, or if we want to, whatever we want to do. That's when we make those decisions, but, so, anyway.
Okay, well, we will bring it back in October.
One item I will point out too is that the city council will be receiving at their next meeting is that we're trying to set up a joint EDC, city council, and I suspect the EDA will play a role because I'm thinking that there's at least one, maybe two city councilors that want to participate in that, but they're also on the EDA. I would have opened it up, for members of the EDA, but if you have two councilors and two EDA members, now you got a quorum of the EDA, and so we can't, don't want to have that. And so it made it quite interesting. So the question before the city council will be, which two people want to be attending a meeting with the EDC to talk about the future of economic development and who's going to play what role and who's going to take the lead on certain aspects of economic development versus land acquisition and development as compared to corporate lease purchase of the building kind of a thing, and marketing. So that'll be on the next city council agenda. And then we'll be working towards trying to figure out what the future holds as far as economic development, who's going to take what role.
Okay. Any more discussion? Seeing none? Anybody, I think we did have a motion in a
Yep.
second.
Yep.
We do.
Okay, all in favor of approving the budget, please say yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. With no more business, meeting adjourned.
We could look at